Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel RVCCIS.info, where faculty representatives from Rock Valley College's Computers and Information Systems Department talks to you, our community at large, about things roughly having to do with computers and information systems. Joining me today, as always, are Stephanie and Jim. Howdy, everybody. I'm Eric, and today we will stick with computery topics, and we'll talk about computer myths that just won't die. I think like once people think they have learned something from, like popular media, it just sticks forever and it never goes away.
Yeah.
So the first one I think we thought of was antivirus. You need to buy an antivirus software for Windows.
Yeah, you don't have to.
No, I can't even remember the last time I paid for one. I mean, it would have had to be like 2001 or 2003 or something.
Yeah, well, and Windows Defender is decent.
It's very good.
So
yeah, one of the I will endeavor to remember the links, but you never know. But PC World every year does like a head-to-head, and Windows Defender is only slightly not as good as the top-tiered pay-for ones, and really the not as good part is stuff that most users never even worry about.
yeah, and honestly, every once in a while, if you just scan with Malwarebytes, you're fine.
Yep.
And that's free too.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. How about this myth that if you have a Mac, you don't have to worry, Eric, about ever getting a virus?
I think it's true. Now, I'll say this. So I've had a Mac for 18 years. That's when I guess I switched over to it being my primary one. It was 2003. So I have not had a single virus in all that time, but I am also not a jackwagon. So I'm not going out there and getting like, bootleg copies of Adobe and all of that stuff that does tend to lead to Mac viruses. So there are several Mac viruses, all of which have been traced back to people being jackwagons with stolen software. So it's usually like, well, Adobe stuff is the big culprit, but it's also things like music libraries, DVD copies, things of that nature will have those viral payloads in there. It's not a zero, it's just not very common.
I miss having Sylvia here. She used to tell me all the time when there was a new virus for Mac, and I'd be all excited.
Oh,
How about for Android phones or iOS? One of the things I think we hear oftentimes from students is those don't get viruses.
Yeah, you should scan those every once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was fine on my phone.
even though I never have. I'm terrible.
So I do have one Android device that remains, and it's a Pixel device. So actually, all three of us have Pixel devices. So we get an added layer of protection from that. But actually, the App Store now, when you do updates to your phones, or to the applications rather on your phones, the App Store does check for known bad actors. So as long as you haven't done something like sideload from someplace else, usually as long as you stay up to date on stuff, you can kind of circumvent that. Yeah. But it doesn't happen on iOS.
No,
I knew you had to get that in there.
I was just waiting for the dramatic pause there and there. There are very few.
My husband gets on his phone, and he's got iOS because it's easier for me if he has iOS.
Yeah, right.
It's for people. Well, anyway. So
simpler folk, you can say it, Steph. Just say it.
Somebody.
Those of you with a lower IQ, like myself, iOS is perfect because we're too dumb for the other ones. But I think.
Well, okay. So reason why is because Brad can't, change it, customize it that easily, and he doesn't want to, so yeah. that's it. But with the texts he receives and the crap he receives through these texts, I'm like, how does he not have something major going on? So I always make sure he updates, which he hates updating, but
Yeah. And speaking of which, for those of you watching, we mean that in the singular sense, I suppose. There was major patches for iOS stuff just this week, like critical patch for known exploit, which in Mac parlance has only happened 2 other times in the 10 years they've had iOS. So that one's a critical update. You don't have to actually do anything for a scripting attack to take your phone over via Safari. So that's what that critical patch was for. And I tweeted this the other night, and I thought about like tweeting another mea culpa afterwards. I said, hey, this is going really fast. You should do these immediately. Only takes about 5 minutes. And then an hour later, it was still processing. And I thought, oh, shoot. Yeah, I just happened to get it the night it was released too. So me and everybody else were jamming up the server, but it still takes probably 20 to 25 minutes by the time it's all done with processing and the reboot. So it's a cup of coffee.
Cindy's phone. She's got an iOS, so yeah.
Yeah. I know it was actually on the news that.
Yeah.
So I forgot to check Brad's phone, but
there's a little red badge waiting there for you, letting you know.
Well, you know what's so funny is
5 minutes.
Yeah, the iPad is connected to his phone, so generally, I wonder if I can just push it through.
Oh, there you go.
I wish you could just push it through. You can't.
Yeah.
Anyway.
How about this was Stephanie's idea, was RAM makes your computer faster.
Well, just RAM.
It'll help a little, but not much.
It'll help a little, right. You got to look at your whole system, especially you're already maxed out on RAM. More RAM's not going to help.
Right. Yeah. So people think it's like you said. Yeah. People think, oh, if I go from 8 gig to 16 gig of RAM, I'm going to be twice as fast. No.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Not
and then
close.
What I have found is most like the way people here in computer science or computer sciencey related fields use computers is totally different than other people. I mean, like right now, if I was to check 13, I have 13 apps open, and that is not the way that most people use computers, right? They would have Chrome open with 100 tabs. Maybe that part is true,
right?
But they just don't have a bunch of apps open where the RAM and multitasking really comes in handy.
Right. That's exactly true. Well, and then the other thing that you pointed out to us, Eric, and you've said multiple times to Jim and I, is the i7 isn't necessarily better than the i5 or faster. So, I mean, we've got a couple different things that could be myths.
Yeah.
Darn it.
I will say though,
more for that i7.
We did get an i7, Jim. We bought them for us because I cannot.
Oh yeah, no. As computery snobs, even if we know better, we're like, oh, but the perceived benefits will be fine. We'll take the expensive one.
I took the stuck up route and went, I need more threads.
Right.
And
there you go.
As a VMware.
Yep.
So that was our excuse. And
there
it really
you go.
More money. It was only a couple $100. So
there you go. We're using your fees wisely, audience. Don't worry.
Who wants the new iMac?
Oh, I desperately. Hey, look. And so on my stairs, and has been in a box for 2 weeks, and I just haven't gotten around to opening it yet. I did buy another new Mac Mini. I bought and returned one, and then it was on sale for $600. Well, here's the deal, though. This iMac is
you have a problem, Eric.
I do have a problem. If there's a 12-step out there, I'm not interested, but I'm probably a target audience. Me and Chuck should go. That's what that's saying. But my USB-C controller keeps going out on my iMac, so that's where all my drives are now. I know.
I couldn't help it. My husband doesn't roll his eyes anymore. He's just like, what'd you buy now?
Yeah.
Well, I got a new Amazon Kindle coming today. The one that Eric put out on. Yeah, he laughs because you're the one that put it out. The last 2 things I bought was because you put it out. So this is no longer myths. This is us complaining about Eric making me buy stuff.
Oh, yeah. Facebook has already told me, like, hey, did you know you have a Rube? And I'm like, oh, it's okay. We'll keep selling stuff to Steph.
Yes. Yeah, except the last 2 things I bought. I can't remember. I bought the another set of headphones basically. And they're awesome, so I'm okay with that. But
Like this kind or the
in-ear ones, they were the Bose, but not really Bose,
Oh, okay.
cheap ones. Gosh, what is that cheap brand?
Like Empow?
No, not Anchor either, but I can't remember.
Okay. Like Aki?
Sound something. Anyway,
Hmm.
I don't have them with me. That's why.
Mhm. We'll talk headphones again someday soon because I'm sure we have bought 11 more pairs. This is true, actually. We've bought 11 more pairs.
I have at least bought 3 more pairs.
Yeah.
You could just start a little retail store or
oh my God.
an
I
outlet mart.
It's exactly, it is brain damage. Anyway, myth that Eric and Stephanie are single-handedly upholding the headphone market is a true one. It's not a myth.
That's true.
Yeah. How about, and our very last one, using incognito mode hides my identity.
So false.
Totally false.
Yep.
It just keeps you from getting the ads, the directed ads.
Right. Absolutely. So your identity is tied rather to your IP addresses and your user agents. So things like, Safari and Chrome and things like that. It helps, but in no way, shape, or form is that all they need to be able to triangulate to you. So incognito, excuse me, mode certainly keeps things out of your history, which, depending on how nefarious your searches are or how big a jackwagon you are, sure, I mean, go for it. But it doesn't do a whole lot more than that.
No. Your ISP knows.
Yep. And believe me, the very, very first thing they thought of to do with that knowledge was sell you out. Like, oh, don't worry, we've already sold that to 7,000 different companies with your weird searches you've been doing right there. We got you.
Yep.
So, yeah, incognito mode is mostly useless. So there you go. We're bursting your bubble one myth at a time. Go ahead and leave us a comment below if you have succumbed to any of these myths about your computing environment, or if you have other myths that we should tackle the next time around. There's a whole show for busting myths, I hear. So if they can do that, we can continue doing this as well. While you're down there, you can feel free to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell button to be notified of new content as it becomes available. You can also follow us on social media, where clearly we are either number 1, giving you suggestions to spend more money, or number 2, giving you suggestions to do things like update. Just in this past week, there's been at least 2 security-related tweets. So you can follow us on social media. We are at RVCCIS Info on Twitter, on Facebook, on Anchor.fm, and here on YouTube. So on behalf of Stephanie and Jim and myself, Eric, and the rest of the Rock Valley community, stay safe and stay sane out there, everybody.